The cable snapped with a sound like a gunshot, and 30 tons of pine crashed across Patrick Harris's legs.
The pain didn't register at first, just the impossible weight and the taste of blood.
His radio spat static, uphill. The crew was 600 yards away, their saws drowning every sound.
No one knew he was down. No one would check until the skid line went cold.
The brush rustled close. Patrick's breath caught. Something was watching. Not a bear, not a wolf. A bobcat, gaunt, pregnant, her ribs sharp under a thin coat.
Go on. I can't fight you.
She didn't attack. Her amber eyes locked onto him. Then she clamped her jaws on his jacket and pulled, muscles straining. She dragged him an inch, then another, the pine groaning above.
Why would a wild animal try to save a dying logger?
The bobcat's muscles shook, but she didn't let go. Inch by inch, she dragged the heavy denim jacket across the pine needles.
Patrick, you copy? We're ready to drop the next one. Say something.
He never misses a check. It's been 10 minutes. That cable should have been reset by now.
Probably just fighting with the winch. You know how that old rig jams.
Down in the brush, the bobcat paused. Her notched ear flicked toward the distant voices. Then she pulled harder.
Just get me clear. Just a few more feet where they can see me.
Shut it down. Kill the saws. We're going down now.
The bobcat heard the engines die. She released the jacket, cast one last look at Patrick, then melted into the shadows. Patrick lay alone again, the taste of copper in his mouth, the distant crunch of boots growing louder.
I see something near the skidder. Something moved.
They found him half hidden in the brush, the massive pine still across his legs, blood pooling darkly beneath him.
Call 911. Tell them crush injury. 2 legs, heavy bleed. And get the skidder to lift this tree.
Look at the ground. Those aren't boot prints. Something dragged him partway out.
Bobcat tracks. Fresh ones, but the spacing, it's like she was pulling something heavy.
The skidder winch groaned as it lifted the pine just enough for the medics to slide Patrick onto a backboard. Paramedics worked fast. Tourniquets, IV lines, a neck brace, but his shattered leg was already turning gray.
Stay with us, Harris. You are not checking out on this hillside.
The rescue helicopter churned the air, lifting him away from the clearing that nearly became his grave.
A bobcat? Why would a wild cat try to save a man she doesn't know?
I don't know, but those tracks aren't lying. She was here, and she was pregnant.
3 hours later, the crew sat in a hospital waiting room, still wearing their orange vests, coffee gone cold in their hands.
I took this at the site. The paw prints right next to the drag marks.
A pregnant bobcat dragged a full-grown man, inches at a time. That's not instinct. That's something else.
She looked half-starved. Why would she waste that energy on a stranger?
Before anyone could answer, a surgeon stepped through the double doors, his scrubs still flecked with blood. The damage was extensive. 3 fractures, torn arteries, but they had stabilized him. He was alive, for now.
If she hadn't pulled him into the open, we never would have found him in time. That bobcat saved his life.
But why? None of this makes sense. Animals don't just rescue people.
Dave stared at the photo on his phone. The notched ear, the swollen belly, and felt the first cold prickle of recognition.
That notch. I've seen it before. But where?
Patrick opened his eyes to fluorescent lights and the sharp smell of antiseptic. His legs were dead weight under the bandages.
You gave us a scare, Harris, but you are going to make it.
A bobcat dragged you out from under the pine. A pregnant one. We have the tracks on camera.
Notched ear, swollen belly. I know that mark.
5 years earlier, a different tract, 80 acres of pine and memory. The crew had cleared a draw. A bulldozer had crushed a hidden den. 3 cubs dead inside. the fourth barely breathing. Patrick gathered the frightened cub into his jacket, its ear torn and bleeding, a wound that would scar into a permanent notch.
I am not leaving it. Someone call a rehabber. This one's still fighting.
They took the cub to a wildlife rescue. A photo was all that remained. A tiny bobcat with a notched ear identical to the one in the woods.
She remembered. 5 years, and she still remembered the one man who tried to save her.
Patrick couldn't shake the image of those amber eyes. Across the room, Dave was scrolling through his phone with a sudden sharp intake of breath.
5 years ago. The cub we found. I still have the photo. Look at the notch on its ear.
That's identical to the ear on the bobcat we saw by the drag marks. It's the same animal.
You are saying that cub from the den, the one Patrick saved, grew up and pulled him out from under a pine.
She remembered my scent. I held her against my chest for 2 hours until the rehabber came.
The guilt hit them all at once. The same den they destroyed, the same cub they displaced, now dragging a dying man to safety.
We owe her something. She's pregnant, and if her den is near the new cut, the same thing will happen again.
We should go back to the site, find her den. Maybe we can mark it off before the company sends the skidders through.
Do it. Go now. I can't walk, but I can back whatever you need to keep her safe.
Within the hour, the crew was back in the truck, heading toward the logging site with a trail camera and a debt 5 years overdue. They returned to the clearing where the pine still lay. The ground was etched with old drag marks and fresh paw prints overlapping.
These tracks are less than a day old. She came back after we left.
They lead toward that thicket. There's a hollow log covered in ferns.
That's a den. She's denning right on the edge of the company's next cut.
Dave strapped the trail camera to a pine facing the den entrance and switched it on.
Motion activated. If she moves, we'll get her. And with luck, a clear shot of that ear.
What if she doesn't show? We're staking everything on a hunch.
She pulled him out of certain death. She'll come back to her den.
They marked the GPS point, pulled back through the brush, and left the camera's red eye blinking in the dusk.
If that notch appears on the footage, the company won't be able to look away.
3 days later, Patrick gripped the parallel bars in the rehab gym, sweat dripping, his left leg refusing to hold weight.
Every step felt like a mile, but I keep seeing those amber eyes.
The door swung open, and Lily hurried in, her school backpack still bouncing on her shoulders.
Dad, they said I could visit. Is your leg hurting bad?
It'll heal, but there's something I need to tell you about the accident and a bobcat that saved my life.
A bobcat? Why would a wild animal do that?
Because I held her when she was a cub. After we destroyed her home, she remembered me.
So, what can you do to make it right?
She asked it like it was the simplest thing in the world. Maybe it was. I am going to make sure she has a safe place to raise her cubs. I owe her my life, and I am going to pay that debt.
48 hours later, Dave sat in the cab of his truck and slid the trail camera's SD card into his laptop, the footage loaded frame by frame.
There she is. The notch. The gait. The swell of pregnancy. It's her.
The footage showed exactly what they needed. The bobcat emerging from the den, turning her head to the camera, the notch in her ear identical to the 5-year-old photo.
I am sending you the file now. Call me when you've seen it.
Minutes later, Patrick's face appeared on Dave's phone screen, his eyes hollow but burning with anticipation.
The notch. It's exactly like the cub I held. She survived, she grew, and she's carrying her own litter.
On the screen, the bobcat stretched, her swollen belly pressing against the hollow log, the same eyes that had locked onto Patrick's in the dark.
We've got proof. The company can't pretend this isn't real. It's time to take this to Prescott.
Set the meeting. I'll be there even if I have to crawl. We owe her more than a debt. We owe her a future.
The trail camera had captured the truth. Now, the real fight would begin. Patrick limped into Prescott's office, crutches clicking on the hardwood floor, the trail camera footage loaded on a tablet under his arm.
You are supposed to be in rehab, Harris. This better be worth my time.
It is. 5 years ago, my crew crushed a den. I saved one cub, the same Bobcat that dragged me out from under that pine. She's denning right here, Section 14, right in the path of the expansion. I am asking you to set aside 200 acres.
That's prime timber. The contracts are signed. We start cutting in 6 weeks. I can't stop that for a cat story.
This isn't a story. It's a debt. She saved my life because I saved hers. We owe her protection.
You can appeal to the board, but I'll tell you now, they'll side with profit. If you push this, you might lose more than the Bobcat's home.
He just threatened my job, my crew. But I can't walk away. Then I'll appeal. I'll take it to the papers, to the town. She didn't give up on me. I won't give up on her.
He limped out of the office, the door closing on Prescott's silence, the weight of the coming battle heavier than any log he'd ever hauled. 2 mornings later, the town paper landed on doorsteps with a front-page photo that stopped every cup of coffee cold.
You see this? Someone sent the trail cam footage and the whole story to the paper.
I don't know who leaked it, but it's the truth. Maybe now the company can't look away.
In his high-rise office, Prescott read the article 3 times, his face hardening with each line.
This is a PR nightmare. Call Harris. Tell him to release a statement saying it was a misunderstanding.
But the story had already caught fire. By noon, protesters gathered outside the company gates, signs raised, chanting for the Bobcat.
They're calling it the Miracle Cat. The board can't ignore this. Every news channel is picking it up.
Let it run. I am not walking back what I said. If they want a statement, I'll give them an interview.
The board called an emergency meeting. For the first time, Prescott had to answer for something bigger than a quarterly profit report. Outside, the crowd grew. She Remembered was no longer just a headline. It was a demand, and it was aimed straight at the man who tried to bury it. That evening, the crew gathered at a corner booth in Millie's diner, the overhead lights buzzing, coffee mugs untouched.
The company's already calling us troublemakers. If we push any harder, we're putting our jobs on the line.
I've got a mortgage and a kid on the way, but if we don't do this, what kind of fathers are we going to be?
We helped tear that den apart 5 years ago. We owe this. I am in, whatever it costs.
Then we stand together. We'll back you at the town meeting, Harris. You just tell your story.
I already told the truth to Prescott. Now I'll tell it to the whole town. She remembered me. Now we remember her.
The meeting's in 3 days. We need to get people there. I'll start calling the local news.
And we'll bring the photos, the old cub, the trail cam, the drag marks. Let them see what we saw.
They're risking everything for me. For her. I won't let them down.
They left the diner with a plan and a bond forged from guilt and hope. The town meeting was their only shot. 3 nights later, the community hall overflowed with loggers, townsfolk, and reporters, every seat taken, the walls lined with standing bodies.
5 years ago, I held a cub with a notch in its ear. Last week, that same Bobcat, now pregnant, dragged me clear of a fallen pine. This is her as a cub, and this is her now. The same notch, the same eyes that saved my life. She remembered me, and now I am asking you to remember her, to set aside 200 acres so her cubs don't end up like her littermates.
The room was silent for a heartbeat. Then the applause began, growing into a roar that shook the rafters.
You hear that, Prescott? That's the sound of your next shareholder meeting. All right, Harris. You want a meeting? My office, tomorrow morning. We'll discuss a conservation plan in private.
I'll be there, but the people deserve to know the outcome. This isn't just my fight anymore.
Prescott gave a tight nod, then slipped out the side door as the crowd's cheers chased him into the night. The town had spoken. The Bobcat's future now hinged on what happened behind closed doors the next day. At 9 the next morning, Patrick crutched into Prescott's office alone, the door closing on the murmurs of waiting reporters.
Here is the deal. 200 acres set aside, but you and your crew sign non-disclosures and take a 15% pay cut.
He's making me choose between my crew's livelihoods and a clear conscience.
You wanted to save that cat. This is the price. The board won't authorize it otherwise.
You are punishing the men who saved my life. They deserve better.
I am managing risk. Take it or leave it. The tractors roll next week.
Patrick's hands tightened on the crutch grips. He thought of the notch, the amber eyes, the way Lily looked at him.
Fine, I'll sign. But I'll hold you to every acre. If those cubs die because of this company, I'll drag the truth out again.
Prescott slid the papers back, his pen clicking with the hollow finality of a gavel. Patrick limped out, the deal in his pocket, the taste of compromise bitter on his tongue. The land was saved, but at a price. 2 days later, Dave's phone erupted with a panicked call. They moved the schedule. The contractor is clearing Section 14 right now.
They're headed straight for the den. We need to stop them now. The protected status hasn't been filed yet.
Go. I am on my way. Block the machines if you have to. She's counting on us.
By the time the crew tore into the clearing, a bulldozer was already rumbling toward the hollow log, its blade only yards from the entrance.
We're not letting you bury that den. Kill the engine.
This area is under conservation agreement. You push 1 more inch, and I'll have the sheriff here.
The contractor hesitated, but the blade kept idling. Then a crunch of gravel made everyone turn. Patrick limped into the clearing on his crutches, his legs still braced, and planted himself directly in the bulldozer's path.
You want to flatten this den? You go through me first, and I've already survived a pine tree.
The engine sputtered and died. The operator climbed down, shaking his head. But around them, the clock was still ticking, the adrenaline drained, and Patrick's body finally surrendered. His crutches clattered as he collapsed onto the sawdust.
Get a medic over here. He's been running on nothing since he left the hospital.
Within minutes, paramedics loaded him onto a stretcher. His pulse weak, the fight bled out of him. Hours later, in a gray hospital room, Patrick lay unconscious again, tubes threading into his bruised arms. But the standoff had bought time. A lawyer filed an emergency injunction, citing the signed conservation agreement and public outcry.
The judge signed the order. All logging halts within 1,000 feet of the den.
We held the line, Pat. The den is safe, for now. Now you fight like she did.
The company's machines pulled back, the hollow log still standing. But Patrick's leg was infected, and the doctors weren't making promises.
He gave everything. If he wakes up, tell him we upheld his promise.
The injunction held. The Bobcat's refuge survived another day. But the man who made it possible lay still, his fate tied to the land he saved. Under a judge's order and a flood of public scrutiny, Prescott signed the final protection deed on live television.
Effective immediately, Jones Creek Wildlife Preserve consists of 200 acres of old growth. The Bobcat will not be disturbed.
In his hospital bed, Patrick watched the broadcast on a tablet propped against his knees, the reflection of the preserve map in his tired eyes.
We pushed them to adopt a lookout before felling protocol 2. Every crew will check for dens before chainsaws start.
She won't understand it, but her cubs will grow up in a world that finally looked before it tore down.
The next week, a simple ribbon was cut beneath a hand-carved sign, Jones Creek Wildlife Preserve. She remembered.
5 years ago, I held a notched cub in my arms. Today, I am holding a promise.
The deed was filed, the protocols stamped. For the first time in 6 decades, this stretch of creek bed was silent of chainsaws, but the bobcat hadn't given birth yet, and Patrick's leg still carried the stain of infection. The bill for his promise wasn't fully paid.
I can wait. She waited 5 years for me. A few more months for her to become a mother is nothing.
Spring thawed the creek and covered the preserve in dogwood blossoms. Patrick's leg had finally healed enough for a slow hike.
Dad, is that her? By the big oak. Look!
Through the binoculars, the hollow log was no longer empty. A mother bobcat emerged, 3 tiny spotted cubs tumbling behind her.
She made it, and look at her ear. The notch is exactly the same. That's her, Lily.
They're so small. She saved you, and now you saved them. It's like a circle.
Patrick lowered the binoculars, his vision blurring. The cub in the old photo was now a mother, her debt paid forward in spotted fur.
I held her when she was barely breathing. Now she's breathing life into a new generation. On land we protected.
One cub wobbled to the stream and lapped water, its tiny paws leaving prints in the wet sand. The mother watched over them, calm and vigilant. 5 years ago, that same creek had run through a clear-cut graveyard. Now it fed a sanctuary, and the trees were growing back.
Dad, I want to work with animals when I grow up, to protect them like you did.
The bobcat lifted her head, her amber eyes finding them through the leaves. She didn't startle or flee.
She knows we're here, and she isn't afraid.
Patrick raised his phone slowly and snapped a photo. The notched ear mother, her cubs at her side, bathed in spring light.
The photo from 5 years ago. Her as a broken cub in my jacket. Now she's whole, and I am the one who was broken.
She saved you, and you saved her land. Now she's giving back. Every spring, more cubs.
Lily pointed through the trees, her voice a whisper full of conviction.
Dad, one day I'll study biology. I'll make sure places like this stay protected forever.
She asked what I could do to make it right. Now she's the answer.
For a long moment, the bobcat held Patrick's gaze, then turned and guided her cubs deeper into the sanctuary.
Thank you for everything.
Within a week, the photo of the notched ear mother went global. The lookout before felling protocol spread to timber companies in 3 states.
Oregon, Washington, Montana, all called this morning. They want to train their crews on the Jones Creek Protocol.
We turned a clear cut into a living promise. I never thought I'd see the day.
Dad, when I am older, I'll be a wildlife biologist and protect this land forever. I already know its name by heart, Jones Creek Preserve.
Every spring, Patrick walked the same trail, Lily beside him, sometimes flanked by Dave and the crew. They'd watch from a distance as the bobcat raised another litter.
We thought we were just loggers. Turns out we're guardians of something bigger.
The hollow log shelter grew thick with ferns. Trail cameras caught the mother teaching her cubs to hunt. The notched ear always in frame. Maps were redrawn. The county marked the preserve as a protected corridor, linking wildlife habitats that had been fractured for decades.
Patrick's leg still aches when it rains, but he says it's a good ache. It reminds him of the pain almost costing him, and what he saved.
She remembered, and now, thanks to her, so do we.
One spring morning, the serviceberry blossoms hung heavy. Patrick and Lily knelt behind the boulder, binoculars up.
Dad, there she is. She brought 2 more cubs. She's still here.
The mother bobcat, muzzle frosted with age, guided the cubs to the stream. They tumbled, tiny notched ear replicas.
The one with the dark spot on its head. I'll call her Hope, because that's what this place gives.
Hope. It's perfect. She'll carry the name of our second chance.
He remembered the day he held a broken cub, her notch fresh and bleeding. Now that wound was a legacy.
We tore her world apart. She rebuilt it, and asked only for a safe place to be a mother.
Lily scribbled the name in her field journal. The preserve was more than a map. It was a living record of redemption.
She remembered me, and now, every spring, I remember what it cost and what it gave back.
In the distance, the Bobcat led her family into the light, the cycle spinning because one man chose to pay a debt. A decade later, Lily Harris knelt at Jones Creek Rehab, her fingers steady as she coaxed an injured fox to eat from her glove.
I grew up watching a bobcat turn a clear cut into a nursery. Now I am giving others a second chance.
Outside the preserve, the lookout before felling sign stood tall, a permanent witness to the protocol born from one act of mercy. Logging crews now paused to check for dens, the sound of chainsaws replaced by the rustle of ferns. Over the ridge, Patrick Harris leaned on his walking stick, the ache in his leg a familiar companion.
This land isn't just protected, it's alive, because she gave me a chance to choose differently.
He smiled, watching a pair of hawks circle above the canopy. As dusk fell, a bobcat silhouette paused on the ridge, the notched ear clear against the orange sky.
She's still here, so am I. That's enough.
The tree line stretched unbroken. A debt paid in acres, repaid every spring.